Shall we start, Kaptan ji?
Yeah, please, we can start now.
A very good evening, all of you. I, behalf of Indian Confederation of Medical Science, today we are on fifth lecture of this series, and I would like to tell you about the Indian Confederation of Medical Laboratory Sciences. This is a national registered voice of medical laboratory professional associations, and we are affiliated with International Federation of Biomedical Laboratory Sciences, that is IFLBS Canada, and we also affiliated from ASIA Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, that is AAMLS, South Korea. We organize every alternate year annual conferences for our members, and during this COVID-19 pandemic, it is our efforts to give education to our members. In this series, today we are going to take the topic from blood bank, and we are having Mr. Harpreet Singh. I would like to request all the panelists, please mute. I wish to invite Mr. Harpreet Singh, Assistant Professor from Lovely Professional University, to moderate this session. Over to you, Harpreet ji.
Thank you, Surendra ji. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be a part of this webinar series, and it is a first of the kind initiative which is taken by the ICMLS. I think they will just going to work on this webinar series very well till now, and I think in the future also they will going to organize such more webinars to keep the MLS staff updated, not only for the technical persons but also for teaching faculties and fraternities as well. So I wish you all the best of luck for the conducting such a nice webinars. And now I'm handing over to Chandraprakash ji to start their lecture. Over to Chandran Prakash. Chandra ji, you can take over.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, quite audible, dear.
First of all, I would like to thank Indian Confederation of Medical Laboratory Science to provide me this opportunity to present and share some knowledge regarding blood banking amid Corona crisis. So before starting my presentation, yes. So now I'm going to start my presentation on blood banking amid Corona crisis. So next few hours, a few minutes, I am going to discuss on these points actually. First of all, I will introduce coronavirus disease. Then I will highlight some topic on WHO biosafety guidelines related to COVID-19. Then we will take the Ministry of Health guidelines on rational use of PPE for particularly the healthcare functionaries working in non-COVID treatment area. Then next, I will discuss National Blood Transfusion Council Ministry of Health guidelines for the blood transfusion services in India regarding COVID-19. Then next, I will discuss about the challenges faced by the blood transfusion services during the pandemic regarding safe and adequate blood supply. And next slide, I will discuss about process flow for the handling and processing of blood requisition and sample of suspected or confirmed COVID-19 patients at blood bank laboratory. Then in last, I will discuss transfusion medicine related prospects for COVID-19 treatment or prophylaxis and some passive immunity associated prospects for COVID-19 treatment and prophylaxis also. So to start with, I am discussing coronavirus disease COVID-19 introduction. As we all know, it is an infectious disease caused by newly discovered SARS-CoV-2 found in Wuhan in December 2019. Then after his rapid spread around the globe, it is characterized as pandemic by WHO on March 11th. And we already know about the transmission of this virus, and basically via droplet generated from talking or coughing and sneezing that from the person. And after the droplets are, whether it is micro droplet or micro droplets, it will get contaminated to the susceptible individual. Most of the people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate illness and recover without requiring special treatment. Only less than 20% require hospitalization. Now, I'm going to talk on the World Health Organization laboratory biosafety guidelines related to coronavirus disease, especially to the laboratories which are not associated with respiratory samples. So WHO is saying each laboratory should conduct a local, basically institutional level risk assessment. So it is competent to safely perform the integrated testing and appropriate risk control measures. So while handling and processing of a specimen from cases we suspected or confirmed COVID infections that are requested for additional laboratory tests, such as biochemistry, blood banking, or hematology. So we should follow local institutional guidelines for processing potentially infectious materials. Next, I'm talking about the Ministry of Health guidelines on rational use of personal protective equipments, PPEs, especially for the health functionaries working in non-COVID treatment areas. They defined non-COVID treatment areas in particular hospital where already COVID treatment are going on, or for some hospitals who are not taking up COVID-19 patients. But these guidelines basically for those individuals only. So in their 2.4 number column, they are saying basically for routine laboratories, including blood bank, who are not running respiratory samples, they comes under mild risk. So they recommended PPE like triple layer medical mask and latest examination gloves only. And for respiratory samples, N95 mask and other PPEs. Now I'm coming to National Blood Transfusion Council guidance for COVID-19 related to blood transfusion services. These guidelines basically are interim recommendations, and they are following WHO instructions also. So the NBC is saying exclusion of at-risk donors during donor selection to maintain blood safety, which is basically based on exposure of blood donors to the coronavirus. Whether the donor have some travel history, it must be deferred or should be deferred for 28 days after travel from the country with COVID-19 community transmission. These countries are day-to-day updated by and notified by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And some blood donors having contact history also deferred for 28 days with last possible close contact exposure to a COVID-19 confirmed or suspected case. Also, those are the quarantined individuals. And of course, the confirmed cases deferred for 28 days till complete COVID-19. And NBTC also saying blood, we have to communicate with blood donors or blood donor organizations by information, education, communication, campaigning by social media, Twitter, Facebook, like this. So after engaging in these type of campaigns, one should learn about self-deferring from whether he is coming from some risk group. So he should prefer to self-defer himself. And obviously, in the blood donation centers, we have to communicate them regarding to maintain social distancing also. And for infection control measures, they have to maintain hand hygiene and cough etiquettes. Post-donation regarding if a donor within 14 days post-donation illness as COVID suspect or confirmed, or close contact having COVID confirmed, then we have to recall the unutilized blood and blood products and should be discarded. And for hemovigilance purpose, and NBTC is saying all cases of post-donation SARS-CoV-2 infection and post-transfusion, if any, SARS-CoV-2 infections to be reported. Now, during the pandemic, blood transfusion services or blood center involvements are basically depends upon which type of pandemic is going, or whether the potentiality of community spread is happening in this particular pandemic. So we already know this pandemic is a human transmission is already we already know after rapid spread, but some symptomatic individuals are also reported. Infection from transmission from pre-symptomatic and asymptomatic individuals are also reported. Some studies in China and then one study in Germany reported the SARS-CoV-2 infections from asymptomatic person. And one study in ICMR also stated 102 patients with severe acute respiratory illness, they found 40 out of 43. Home data was available there. They have data was available, had no history of international travel. So basically, they also there's also message to the authorities. We have to need further probe regarding this. Now, to continue blood transfusion involvement, we can say risk of disease transmission by blood transfusion. So for this, few studies are reported in China and in Korea. In China, 430 blood donations during January to March 2020. 4 samples were found to be positive for SARS-CoV-2 by RT-PCR. And in South Africa, South Korea, 7 donors tested positive within 15 days after donation, were identified, were subsequently notified. But till date, no transmission of SARS-CoV-2 have been observed in China or Korea. So, and with previous experience of MERS and SARS-1 infection also, we can conclude like this: the risk of transmission of COVID-19 through blood transfusion is only theoretical and likely very minimal. Now, I'll discuss on these challenges faced by blood transfusion services for safe and adequate blood supply. First of all, we are facing blood donor related challenges in pandemic time. Decreased blood donors because difficulty to reach blood center in lockdown situation. Fear to the donors infection can happen in hospital or blood bank area, and lack of blood donation camps in lockdown situations because of the transportation constrictions, and also some fear from the transmission from pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic. And some donor also give false history will further lead to the infection transmission. So NBTC recommend blood collections from contaminated zones should be temporarily avoided for the safety purpose. And coming to other challenges, blood transfusion services are facing inventory management challenges also, because sudden decrease in demand due to OPD shutdown and routine surgery. So we have to, and this will lead to increase in wastage also, because our blood component of having shorter lifespan, blood difficulty in transportation of blood to other blood centers, and less transfusion due to fear of transfusion transmission. Possibilities of increase of demand due to rapid influx of patients at the end of lockdown. So we are facing this type of challenges. And continuing this, we have blood bank staff related challenges. We have to keep our staff safe from infection. And if someone is getting infected, so he had to infected or suspected, so he has to go for some quarantine and home isolation for days also. So we have to manage possible infected staff difficulty to reach blood center due to the transport constrictions during lockdown. Some data are already separated out for the infected patient also. So we are not including those staff who are testing for especially COVID-19 or suspect cases for the routine and other testing. And we are also getting some news regarding shortage of PP for staff also. So it will finally decrease the confidence of the staff to work during this crisis pandemic time. And then coming to the blood bank related consumable related challenges. During the transportation and lockdown time, the trade is also get stopped. So we are getting decreased supply and increased wastage because of the expiration of consumables. And we are facing difficulties in following up donors and patients as well. So these are the challenges faced by our blood transfusion services during, especially to the pandemic time. And then I'm discussing about the responses, what planning or response we have to do during this corona pandemic crisis. So first, we have to plan to reduce community spread and staff management. So for this, donor and staff members should be thermally screened at the entrance by manual or like this automatic machine. Restricted entry of unauthorized persons, staff rotation rosters to decrease exposure. Staff should be come in the rotation, so they have to and next, reduce risk of infection. Regular cleaning and sanitizing of blood center area and the commonly touched area objects like computers and all. By providing adequate PPE to staff and by providing information, education, and communication update of staff also. So these are the plans we can reduce to community spread, and along with this, we can manage our staff shortage also. The responses toward the healthy donor recruitment and identification of healthy blood donors. Special screening or deferral criteria already laid down by NBTC and Ministry of Health. We have to follow these things. Blood have communicate with the local administration to arrange e-passage for the blood donors, and we have to use the social media for IC campaigning through blood voluntary blood donor organization. And one important thing is we have to pre-register. If we have to pre-register the blood donation, we can easily facilitate them time slotting or social distancing or transport facility. So we have some idea a particular donor is coming on this time slot. So by this we can maintain social distancing also, and we can facilitate transport facility to them also. And next, preparedness of donor organization at the end of a strict lockdown due to pandemic. So we all know that by phased manner our government is ending this lockdown also. So we have to prepare for the upcoming challenges regarding safe and adequate blood supply. And next, coming to inventory management, we have to reduce wastage to anticipate a blood shortage. And then some conditions we can also think of non-identical blood compatible transfusions in platelets or FFPs especially, or depend upon stock and depend upon inventory of our center, we can issue O to universal blood groups to other group patients also. We are actually doing for FIFO policy. I'm strict adhere to this first in first out policy. So by this we can manage our inventory. And next we have to prepare for of specific blood component like SDAP. It will basically save 5 to 6 platelets to use for one patient. So we can go for a single donor apheresis platelet. By this we can also manage the inventory. And we have a strong communication with clinicians, especially in this pandemic time, regarding restrictive transfusion therapies, strategies, and regarding transfusion alternatives like albumin, intravenous IG, factor 8, and we can use frozen and fractionated blood product. And if we have facility, so we can use pathogen reduced blood product also. And coming to the consumable management, for this wastage of consumable due to decreased workload, we are already facing this. So we should plan to shift to manual testing as much as possible in this pandemic time, because we are not getting normal samples, like already OPD are closed and plant surgery are already postponed. So for this, it is better to shift to the manual testing, or on some centers any automated testing. And we can also think of combining testing between 2 or 3 blood centers within the institution or nearby institution. So by this, we can also manage our consumables. And depend upon the center, we can fix special testing like special hematology testing. We can postpone it or we can plan it for once or twice a week. And very one important thing, we can distribute the near expiry agent to nearby blood center also. So by this all means, we have to manage our consumables. So we can plan the responses to challenge the challenges faced by COVID-19 to our blood centers. And then coming to processing the samples, especially for COVID-19, for this, we are suggesting a process flow. In this, first of all, in this process, we have a communication from COVID-19 ward. So then we receive blood requisition. But normal days, we are requisitioning paper requisition only. For this, because it's highly infectious and to prevent fomite transmission, we are planning to, we should plan to receive requests only in image form or e-form by hospital information system, along with blood sample in Ziploc pouch arrived at blood bank reception. And then after this, we have to sanitize identification from form and sample. Then we have to generate a blood bank ID. And after pasting this ID, we have to specifically paste a COVID-19 ID, label also on the form and sample. So it will save the unnecessary touch by other technologists or other staff. So, and next we have to shift this sample in dedicated workbench or preferably dedicated room only for pre-transfusion testing. So after shifting the sample, one dedicated MT medical technologist in wearing PPE. So for PPE, every center have some criteria after assessing their own risk. Ministry of Health is already laid down some criteria, but it is the minimal criteria. If your institute is assessing some little more risk, then they will allow some extra PPE also, like some disposable gowns along with the triple mask and gloves. So dedicated MT on duty after wearing proper PPE, please open the cap of sample tube carefully. One more thing here, we can order the twist open test tube, which basically generate less aerosol. Avoid using the tubes with pushing closures. And then wait for settling. So it is important, we have to avoid centrifuging the sample for just for plasma. And if centrifugation is needed, so it must be done in centrifuging machine having cap load. Then we have to perform the blood grouping forward and reverse by tube technique or column gel technique. Column gel technique already a cap, so it is safer in contrast to a tube technique by forward, reverse grouping and forward. Then receive a tube segment of the blood unit by another MT to avoid the exposure of the particular blood unit. Then we have to perform column gel or tube testing using a dedicated machine. So we will reduce the exposure to another machine or another person to SARS or maybe the infected SARS-CoV-2 virus. Then we have to place the sample in dedicated self and refrigerator and sanitize the workbench, dedicated refrigerator door handle. Then we have to remove the PP placed into dedicated bin for subsequent autoclaving and further disposal as per the biomedical waste disposable criteria. Then clean and wash hands properly and put your new set of mask and gloves. Then document the results on form along with hospital information system as per criteria, and generate compatibility report, and then communicate with the COVID that the blood sample, blood unit is ready for use. And now I'm coming to transfusion medicine associated prospects for COVID-19 treatment, or in some cases prophylaxis. While no fully effective drugs to prevent or treat COVID-19 exist, several drugs and immune modulating therapies are being tested or in compassionate use. So in all of these, most talked about is convalescent plasma therapy. Basically, convalescent is already recovered from some disease. So literally plasma from a recovered patient, it has been used for years to treat a variety of illness like measles, polio also. So the plasma from recovered patients, then we have to process this plasma, do some antibody titer and then virus assay to just eligible or not this particular plasma unit is eligible or not for COVID patient after establishing this. So this antibody containing plasma from a recovered patient is given by transfusion to a patient who is suffering from COVID-19. A donor antibody helps the patient fight the illness and sorting, or can say sorting the hospitalization or reducing the severity of disease. So next day we already have some detailed presentation and webinar on this convalescent plasma therapy. So I'm not going into much detail on this. So next, I have to say hyperimmunoglobulin. If the plasma proves effective in COVID-19, then next logical step is to produce the concentrated version of this particular plasma. So basically, in this, Takeda, famous biopharma company, is developing an anti-SARS-CoV-2 hyperimmunoglobulin. So basically, they are transported their convalescent plasma to manufacturing facilities, not the blood bank. The convalescent plasma collected from blood bank, but they are transported to manufacturing facilities to undergo further processing and along with pathogen reduction technique. So basically, we are removing other proteins or other antibodies which may affect to other like transfusion. So remove all these things. Just leave the particular SARS-CoV-2 antibodies and make a medicine from manufacturing facilities and give it to the COVID-19 patient. And other prospects are blood purification therapies. A small studies by Zima et al. With 3 patients only, severely ill patient. Basically, they performed low volume plasma exchange. We are already aware therapeutic plasma exchange. So they are connecting the patient through this particular machine, which is showing over here, and the patient's plasma connected to this particular machine, and this machine basically filter with some adsorption filter those antibodies or some kind of cytokines are already there in severely ill patient due to the exposure of SARS virus. So basically, these filter have some capacity to just pick and clear out those cytokines, and the rest plasma already transfused back to the patient. By this, we can manage cytokine storms and also some up to some so basically, it was data on 3% only. So some large studies already needed to establish this type of treatment. And next, Regeneron, a very well-known pharma company, is in process of developing a multi-antibody cocktail that could be administered as treatment option or for prophylaxis also. Earlier, they combined with Sanofi, a very good French pharma company, begin the recruitment for phase 2 or 3 trial evaluating an existing monoclonal antibodies, that is sarilumab, which inhibits IL-6 pathway by binding and blocking the receptor. So basically, after this I'm to develop a multi-antibody cocktail, but it is in a very early phase. So just I came across a news article on it, so sharing that could be administered as a treatment option for prophylaxis. Like this, I'm concluding my seminar. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chandraprakashi. I just forget to introduce Chandraprakash at the start. I'm really sorry for that. Now over to the panelists. If they are having a queries, they can ask. Hello, is there any panelists who want to ask some questions?
All the participants
Surendraji, I think
answers in question and answer options. I would like to comment about this. Chandraprakash, it's a very beautiful presentation, and today only we come to know that blood banks are not only providing the transfusion services, they are actually involved in separation of blood purification products by removing the cascade of cytokines which generally produce in COVID-19 patients. They are involved in anti-SARS-CoV hyperimmunoglobulin purifications itself, which can be used for the treatment purposes for the COVID and so on. So if any if any question answer from participants, please post your question and answers. Dr. Pandey, you would like to comment something?
Hello. Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Well, he happens to be a name partner with me. I am Chandraprakash Pandey. He is again Chandraprakash. So nice hearing a similar name speaking on a wonderful topic. Congratulations, Chandraprakash, for a wonderful presentation. There's a question about which plasma therapy is best, SDP, RDP, or FFP? Sorry.
Okay, for this particular, sir, COVID-19 you are asking?
Yeah.
Sir, for this COVID-19, we are not using SDP or FFP. We have to do apheresis, plasmapheresis. By this, FFP is from collecting from whole blood only. So for this, we have to use apheresis machine, like the apheresis platelet. So it's a like dialysis like machine. So donor have to connect with this, and blood comes from the donor to this machine. This machine will separate out plasma only and send back all the residual blood to the donor. So for this convalescent plasma, basically all worldwide it is apheresis plasma pheresis using.
Okay. Thank you.
There is one question. You had mentioned about the PPE. So, is there any guidelines for the opening of blood samples at the PPE?
Blood samples?
Is there any guidelines for handling the COVID patients' blood samples, and there is a need for wearing the PPE by the healthcare worker?
So the same guidelines for the sample. I think the laboratory professionals, while processing the confirmed COVID, they are already kept all the laboratory in mild risk only. So ICMR is saying कि only triple layer mask and gloves is enough. And other than all universal precautions like apron, वगैरह, etc. And some institute level assessment is also necessary. Only they know.
In our institution, in your setup, are you wearing the full PPE kit for testing the blood transfusion services?
Yes, for a particular COVID confirmed or suspect cases, other than the mask and gloves, we are also using disposable gown along with head cover and shoe cover also. So,
it is just a gown along with triple layer mask.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This thing only.
Okay, not PPE.
Yes, sir. Not full PPE.
Okay, Chandraprakash, I am also having one query.
Yes, sir.
How long you can defer a patient who is having tested for a COVID-19 and it is positive? How long?
Sir, basically,
I mean, 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years?
No, sir. For COVID-19 is 28 days only after recovery. After the patient come negative by 2 PCR results, then from the recovery, 28 days is a difference.
But some of the reports has been from China that
Yes,
the patient, those who are come negative after 70 days or 60 days, they are just still coming.
Yes, sir. But the main thing is transfusion transmissible COVID infection data is lacking in SARS-1 also and MERS also. So this transfusion transmissibility is theoretical only. So NBTC guideline says we have to defer for 28 days only after full recovery of COVID infection.
One question was there also arising by some of the person that can be arrange a blood camps during these lockdown for a safe collection of the blood or not?
Yes, sir. We have to communicate with local administration and we have to arrange some e-passes for transportation. Just one thing NBTC is we have to avoid organizing voluntary blood donation.
I think in Chandigarh also, if you wish to donate your blood, you can call the blood bank of PGI. They will send their ambulance to get you from the home.
Okay.
Just donate the
Sir.
blood and we will drop you back.
Particular contaminant zone only, like Chandigarh, Bapudam. So we have to avoid these area only.
You can arrange it on a green zones.
Yeah, red zone also. Just we have to avoid the particular contaminant zone only.
Particular area only, 3 kilometers
yes,
of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like
okay.
This.
Okay.
So there's one question also, like, could the blood collection facility blood donors? The question of working collection room. Those who are performing the blood collection during the camps, what is the guide? What you will do? You will wear the PPE or triple layer mask. What you will do for that?
So we are with the triple layer mask and gloves only, and along with the universal precaution like apron. So we are not with PPE clothes. Gloves, mask, and
we have one of the panelists, Gopal Sharma, who is also the lecturer in one of the blood bank in Jaipur. Gopal, you would like to ask something about this, and you would like to add up something in the presentation?
No, sir, very good presentation. I got all the questions and answers also. Very nice presentation. I got all the answers.
Thank you, sir.
Any other panelist?
There is another question in the question answer comments. Should blood centers routinely screen the blood samples for COVID-19 viruses?
No, sir. Worldwide, no any blood bank is screening for COVID-19. We are stick to transfusion transmitted infection only. In India, we are doing hepatitis and HIV and syphilis and malaria.
Okay, not yet all the donors who are not investigating for their COVID.
Yes, sir. Nowhere in world also. No any country reported additional testing for COVID-19.
Okay, Chandraprakash, there is one more question from attendee that after positive to a negative COVID patients, of blood, can we store it?
Whenever during donation, after donation, within 14 days, within a particular incubation period is 14 days. So after donation, within 14 days, if we come to know the report of donor, we have to recall the particular blood and blood product and to discard on it. And it is,
Okay.
guidelines is very strict on this.
I just would like to add something like for the general blood transfusion services, nowadays all the patients who are having the planned surgeries, so they used to screen for the COVID. So before sending the BT requisition to the blood banks, routinely all specialist hospitals, super specialty hospitals are rule outing their patients for COVID-19 because they are treating only emergency situations patients only. So there is much for the infection of COVID, mix up the COVID positive samples along with other patients. And then I would like to take up the answer. After how many days COVID comes positive? So we have been on 5th day, and yesterday, day before yesterday, we were discussing like through RT-PCR we can detect it from day 1, and through different antibody investigations it comes positive after 7 days and 15 days through IgG.
There's one more question is there, Chandraji, for you. Why after plasma therapy, death is taking place in case of COVID-19?
Plasma.
We will discuss tomorrow. Plasma therapy we will take it tomorrow.
Okay.
What temperature you kept your sample after collecting?
Sample?
Temperature of your donor's blood. Storing temperature.
Same, sir, room temperature only. For processing, after processing, we will keep it in the refrigerator to 2 to 4 degree or 2 to 6 degree.
And it depends
what
on
about the
the
different
component as well, na?
storing? For the components, I think it's refrigerated.
Yeah, yes. For the component, it is different, sir. For a plasma, it might be frozen or it might be kept at a refrigerated. And for especially for the platelet, it has to be kept at 22 degrees centigrade with agitation. Am I right, Chandraji?
Yes, sir, they are asking about a sample only, sir.
Yeah.
We are
okay.
We are talking about storage. We are
collected
talking
sample.
about.
Okay. Got it.
We would like to add up the things like what are the recommended temperature for different components of the blood.
Okay, components, sir. Component for normal guideline for COVID also the same. For the PRBC, we are sticking to 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, and
Okay.
for
FFP?
plasma, FFP minus 20 to minus 40 degrees centigrade. We have a deep freezer, so we for this minus 40 degree we can give an expiry of 1 year. And for platelets, room temperature.
What you would like to say about the after the COVID pandemic? What are going we all know we are not going to have the recent treatment for this. So what you will suggest about the guidelines for conducting the blood donation camp? What actually it should be?
Basically, sir, transfusion transmitted infection is theoretical only, so we don't need to panic for transfusion point of view. So, and for blood donations, we have to take precaution. We have to take precaution of the infection spread only.
So you are saying if a patient is COVID positive, and is there any chance for getting the recipients infected for the COVID?
No, sir. No any data is reported yet. Stated in the slide, we have two studies where almost 10 to 15 blood products having identified SARS-CoV-2 virus, but in Korea they checked the transfusion to the patient also, but they are found to be negative only. So by this report of SARS-CoV-2 and then earlier report from SARS and MERS, we can conclude like this: transfusion transmissibilities. Not any data reported till date.
Did you would like to add up something now?
No, I think that is a good question and answers are going on. and a very good talk by Chandra Prakash. And it's quite informative, not only for the students, but for the staff, those who are not working in the blood banks. But if they are having a good knowledge, they can guide the patients that there is no harm in donating our blood if we are still feeling that COVID is going on. No doubt there is a little chance that a patient can get infected or a donor can get it infected. But if we just going to motivate them, they can still come to donate the blood.
Yes.
That I want to conclude. And it is a social, I think, social behavior of the patient depends on that as well, that whether he is cooperative or not. But for a social cause, they have to donate the blood.
With all these, I think we can stop today's.
I'm not getting Swindari.
I would like to thank Harpreet ji for moderating this session, and special thanks to Chandra Prakash ji, who is our COVID warrior also. They spared time during all these busy schedules and highlighted all the issues related and the possibility of blood bank to how the blood banks can help the patients and providing the treatment along with the transfusion services. So thank you very much, audience, for patient hearing, and Chandra Prakash ji and Harpreet and this session. Thank you very much for patient hearing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once
Thank
again.
you.